now aboard the Fantasy Voyage Express. Time to pack your bags and let us take you on a journey to victory.
Come on, y'all, let's take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it, yeah, Blitzalytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. If you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, who ride? If you want to get the dub, you gotta tune in live.
You are now watching Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here are your hosts, Cody Manning and RobRob.
And welcome into Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com, or as Jay, Superfan Jay would say, all aboard the Fantasy Voyage. I like that, Jay. So welcome, everybody, and hello, Mr. Manning. As always, my co-host here, been that way for many moon now. How you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm doing pretty good today. Woke up happy for whatever reason. If that's a good thing, right?
Yeah,
so I'll
count that as a dub.
Right, exactly. Ready to talk some fantasy football with you, man. My Colts got to win this week, and yeah, just ready to dive into this episode, to be honest.
Yes, sir. And I see, I've noticed your football the last few weeks, your little football you carry. I decided I had to get me one, but my fat boy kicked in, so I got a cheeseburger here. That's because that's what's hot these days. So I have my own now. I feel special. We're going to do it like we do every week. We're going to hit you with a little news. Then we're going to hit you with some studs, some duds, some, oh goodness. Your video messed up on me, Cody. Tell them what we're going to do while I fix you.
Oh yeah, that's fine. So it's same old episode, guys. If you've been here before, but if you are a new listener, we're going to talk quick some couple news updates from the last couple. One news updates from 5 days ago, but me and Rob haven't got a chance to share our thoughts on it as far as the fantasy aspect. I'll go over injuries, studs and duds from this past week. I'll do my waiver wire targets. And then Rob does his trade targets, and then we'll do our starts and sits for week 7. And then I'll, of course, give you guys my top 5 streamable defenses this week. But yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get into this, Rob.
Let's do it, dude.
You probably already got it fixed.
Yeah, I got it fixed. I'm a G, bro. That's how I roll. Do it live. I'm like, remember that? What was his name? Do it live. Just screaming. That's me. So let's talk about that news. Leigh Bell signed with the Chiefs, man. After New York tried to trade him, you heard a little bit of Dolphins, you heard a little bit of Patriots. Ultimately, he ends up being released, signed with the Chiefs. As a CEH owner, it hurts to ask this question, but are you worried personally about CEH moving forward? And what do you think is Bell's role with this team?
As the owner, obviously, you definitely want to be concerned because, Le'Veon Bell has shown that he can be a top back in this league, but we have not seen that in some time. Right. I'll be honest. I think going forward, I think if you're a fantasy owner of CEH, I think you should be fine, comfortable playing him for the next month at least.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, Le'Veon Bell still has to learn a new offense. It's not like he's going to be thrusted into a lot of action. When I actually watched that Bills Chiefs game on Monday night, I already I watched it like, all right, where would Le'Veon take his snaps? So basically, anytime Darrell Williams was on the field or even Darwin Thompson I got to carry, I was like, all right, that would be Le'Veon's role. And as a Le'Veon owner, I'll be kind of fine with that because those guys were getting heavily involved. I think the biggest concern, though, is, CEH. I don't know if he's going to get much goal line touches. So you're going to really need him to be dependent on the pass work, on the between
yards.
Yeah.
No
so that's
doubt.
what I'm worried about. But I think even this week, Bell's going to get like some goal line touches and inside the 20, inside the 10. I know with Bell though, like you probably shouldn't rush to play him this week, but in our 16-team league,
well, that's different. I mean, what are you going to do there?
Like, yeah, I already got like Myles Gaskin's on a bye, and then like there's another back there's some other back I have in that league that's on a bye. So I'm like, I think I got to play Le'Veon on my flex this week. So
yeah, I mean, I'm a CEH owner, and I'll be frank with you. I think what you see is if and when Le'Veon really gets going, right? I think you see CEH. Maybe he's not an RB1 week to week, right? He's an RB2 week to week. So you might have to adjust point totals. I'll talk about it later, but I don't think Bell has a huge impact this week. I'm with you as CEH for the next month. Minus week 8, right? Week 8, they play the Jets, and it's you kind of like Le'Veon probably sat in the room was like, I need 20 touches against the Jets, right? Like that's what I want, and then we can talk. But so I think he owns the Jets. But yeah, moving forward, I think I'm fine with both of them. The Chiefs just add weaponry. It's disgusting. So we could talk about that all day though, because the Chiefs are fantasy darlings. But let's move on to something new here. Tua. It is Tua time, guys. He's been named the Dolphins starting quarterback. So with that in mind, again, 2 questions here, as always, when we get a new quarterback. A, is he worth an ad? And B, what does it do to your level of comfort for the guys around him? In this case, a la Parker Williams, Gesicki, Gaskins, who has been a pleasant surprise. What do you think having Tua be the starter does to them? And again, is he worth an ad to you?
I definitely think he's worth a speculation ad if you're somebody that has been streaming quarterbacks this year and you're not happy. I'm kind of going to talk about it later when I do my waiver wire target at the quarterback position. I think a lot of people are understanding, unless you kind of got like a Patrick Mahomes, a Lamar Jackson, maybe a Deshaun Watson. There's a few others. You really don't have week in and week out starters. So like that threshold on the waiver wire target, there's a lot of people that are over the 50% ownership right now. So I think a lot of people are starting to keep 2 quarterbacks this year. That's what I've gathered from when I did the waiver wire research this morning. So obviously they are on a bye week. Obviously there's bye weeks going on, and injuries. So you might not be able to have a roster spot for him. But if you are one of those people that are streaming quarterbacks and you don't like your second option, like I would add him, because Fitzmagic was putting up some numbers. And like we talked about last night, the football happy hour, the only thing that makes sense to make this move is if like Tua's just been the better quarterback in practice. So there's a chance he could just supplement and just not make those mistakes, and he can get all those yards and touchdowns that Fitzpatrick was getting. And Fitzpatrick was a viable streaming quarterback.
He was, and if you didn't tune in last night, the basics of it is that Brian Flores is not giving games away. He's not starting the quarterback who's been worse. So at best, it's been a push between these guys at practice. And I like Tua moving forward. Again, I'm a streaming guy most weeks. My late round quarterback this year has worked so far in Ben Roethlisberger, but I mean, like you said, I think a lot of people are running with 2 quarterbacks right now. So if that's the case and that's the way your league has been playing, jump on Tua if you have the chance to stash him. Now let's move on into injuries. I'm just going to give you all the injuries, Cody, and we'll see which ones you really want to talk about. Miles Sanders, knee injury. He's going to be out for Thursday night football against Cody's NFC East winning New York Giants after last night's talk. Zach Ertz, high ankle sprain, expected to miss a few weeks. Feels like he's missed all the weeks this far this season. Raheem Mostert goes to the IR with a high ankle sprain. What it feels like is he'll have a ginormous game, then miss a couple with something. And then Mark Ingram, who we haven't talked a lot about on the show this year, high ankle sprain. He's with the Ravens on their bye week. Wow, I almost called him Jim. John Harbaugh said Ingram is likely to be available against the Steelers on November 1st. So of those 4, anything that you really want to talk about particularly?
I'll just kind of run through them really quick. Miles Sanders, obviously the ad is Boston Scott. If you need somebody desperately like I do, I hope I got him on the waiver claim this morning. I haven't checked that league yet. But he'll be the play this Thursday, but there's a risk, with Corey Clement, and it's just the Eagles offense right now. So but he would be the go-to guy if you're an owner. Zach Ertz, obviously he's been a disappointment anyway by By the way, I believe Dallas Goedert has been on IR for 3 weeks now, so he could be returning soon. So I would maybe check the waiver wire targets because he will be a tight end one with Zach Ertz being out. And I'm not sure if he's going to return this week. Maybe he misses one more. But that's something to monitor. Raheem Mostert, obviously that sucks. I think the go-to guy is Jerick McKinnon. I know a lot of people are pointing out JaMychal Hasty. I'll just be hesitant. I know waivers probably processed overnight. I just hope you didn't spend too much money because, again, this past week, Jeff Wilson was inactive with an injury. If he plays this next week, he'll be involved as well. And don't forget, too, Tevin Coleman has been on IR the last 3 weeks, so he could be returning at some point. So that's and I don't think any of them are really a good play. I'm actually going to talk about that later. And then Mark Ingram, they said that he'll probably be back, but I know me and you literally talked about it last week. This is why you kind of hold on to these Ravens backs on your bench. You don't play them because if that was a really bad injury, then like all of a sudden Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins comes very viable.
Right, you're just at this point playing a waiting game, hoping that something breaks. So breaks for you. Wow, that was rude after saying injury. So excuse me. All right, then, Cody, let's move on into our studs and duds, guys who either won you the week or shit the bed and cost you the week. We're going to do it like we do every week. We're going to go quarterback you, quarterback me, running back you, running back me, and so forth. So whenever you're ready, hit us with your stud and dud quarterbacks.
So my stud right now is the guy I always like playing. It seems like over these last 2 weeks, now that he's got away from Billy O'Brien, he is finally like, I don't know, does he feel comfortable now that he's gone?
They just don't hate it. That's all it is.
Yeah, right. Right. So Deshaun Watson, he was the number one quarterback this week, 28 of 37, 335 yards. He had 4 touchdowns on the day. He also had 4 rushes for 26 yards, finished the day with 32 points. If he's a keep on playing with us, that's why I think he's one of those guys you can plug and play at the quarterback position. My dud, man, I can't believe it was such a disappointment. Aaron Rodgers against the Bucs. I know the Bucs have a good defense, but Rob, I complain on the Cody Talks NFL show about like the scheduling, and we were already dealing with the Jets and Dolphins, and I was like, all right, at least we get Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. They're going to battle it out. I'll have something.
But then we didn't.
No, not a completely lopsided win for the Bucs. But yeah, let me go ahead and finish this off. Rodgers, he finished as the number 27 quarterback, so not even good enough for 2 quarterback leagues. 16 of 35, 160 yards, 2 interceptions. He had 2 rushes for 14 yards, only 3.8 points. I expect he will bounce back, but man, that was just a rough week for Rodgers owners.
It was, and what was crazy was I remember I had a buddy come over, after the first quarter, and he was like, "Well, who's winning this game?" I was like, "Oh, it looks like Green Bay," because early on Green Bay was dominating Tampa, and then it just light switch, and it was Aaron didn't look good at all.
That pick six changed the whole game.
Killed him, bro. It killed his day. So yeah, absolute dud day for Aaron Rodgers. My stud, I gave it to Matt Ryan because nothing good has happened to the Falcons, so I wanted to give you Falcons fans just a little something to be happy about. Finished as the number 2 QB on the week. He went 30 of 40 for 371 yards, 4 touchdowns. Got you a grand total of 31.64 fantasy points. So congratulations, Matt Ryan, giving you a Matt Ryan week. And then my dud quarterback, this one was personal. Ben Roethlisberger finished as quarterback number 24. So in a 2 quarterback league, he did slot in as at least viable for you. 14 of 22, only 162 yards and a touchdown, and they were whipping ass so much that Mason got to play. I was expecting more from Big Ben in a one-sided victory like that, but you will have these weeks. So Big Ben is my dud, Matt Ryan is my stud, and whenever you're prepared, the running back, sir.
Yeah, so my running back stud of the week is the rookie Deandre Swift. Finished as the number 30 running back on the week. He had 14 rushes, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 3 receptions for 7 yards on 4 targets, 27.3 points. And he finally had his coming out party. I know that makes me happy because I had him riding on the bench in 2 of my leagues. I lost that game in our 16-team league, but I was debating, should I get somebody else because I had all the bye weeks, but I was like, if there's any time the Lions to start playing their second round pick, it would be after the bye week. So I think right now Like I think he's going to split reps with AP, and I think he's more of a flex play right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's a good RB2 play at some point throughout the year. My dud man, our boy Alexander Madison, he had a letdown game, but this is more because he got game scripted out. With the Falcons jumping up to that big lead early, like you talked about with Matt Ryan's performance. He had 10 rushes, 26 yards. He only had. This is where what bothered me is he only had 1 receptions for 4 yards on 2 targets, only for 4 points. The 2 targets surprised me just because they actually use him in the passing game, even when Dalvin Cook's playing. And I guess I watched some of the game last night. Amir Abdullah was getting some snaps. It was just not a good game for him. But Cook's probably going to be back after the bye week. But if you had to play him again this year, if Cook is out, I would still trust him. I just think it was just the wrong game for him.
It's the Vikings are getting hard to watch from time to time, man. I don't know what's going on in Minnesota, but it is not a sexy thing. So let's move into my start. And say I'm having one of those days, Cody. My brain is just nowhere.
I'm right there with you, man.
My stud. Go ahead.
We're almost halfway through the fantasy football season. So
there we
go.
Okay. Chugga. Keep hug it, chug it football. Stud running back for me, Derrick Henry. Just a monster this week. 22 carries, 212. Yeah, you heard me right. 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 52 yards. He actually out-yarded teams this week. It was absolutely insane. And what was it? He got to like 26 miles per hour or something stupid on his 90-yard run. This guy is just an athletic freak. Finished with over 40 fantasy points. I play in a juiced-up league. He actually finished with over 50 points on one of my rosters. Good God, this guy is just a monster. And then my dud running back of the week is Kareem Hunt at number 31. 13 carries, 40 yards, 2 receptions, 17 yards, 7.7 points. I'm a little bit iffy on why he's not as consistent as he should be now that Chubb is out, and that gives me a little pause. He hasn't put up the numbers I thought in that absence. There's been a couple of instances, but otherwise, Kareem Hunt been real up and down for me right now. So let's hope that we get a bounce back from him moving forward. But my stud on the week, Derrick Henry, who outscored everybody else in the position combined, and then Kareem Hunt is the dud. So whenever you're ready, Cody, hit him with these wide receivers.
Yeah, so my stud is A.J. Brown for the Titans. He finished as the number 4 wide receiver on the week. 5 receptions for 56 yards. He had 2 touchdowns on 7 targets, 22.6 points. And it's just the last 2 games, they've spent, 2 weeks off. He's still kind of banged up, and he's came in and immediately produced for his owners. So obviously you like to see that, and he's been efficient ever since he's been back. And plus he had that not game-winning, but that game-tying sweet touchdown at the end of that game. And then my dud, dude, if you would have told me going back to this Packers and Bucks game that the Bucks beat the Packers 38-10, and you're a Mike Evans owner, you had a busy Sunday, and you're like, oh, cool, the Bucks won 38-10. That means Mike Evans got me at least 10, 15 points, maybe 100 yards, maybe a touchdown. No, Mike Evans finished as the number 89 wide receiver. He only had 1 reception for 10 yards on only 2 targets, only 2 points for Mike this week. That's I think that's about as low as a floor you're going to get in game you're going to get out of him this year. You'd hope.
Excuse me.
But yeah, that definitely wasn't a surprise to me when I didn't because like once they start blowing him out, I kind of was halfway paying attention to the game at that point.
Well, and to be honest, if you look at it though, Cody, it was a surprise until I saw this, right? And then you start really looking at Mike Evans' numbers, and he's been really touchdown dependent this year. The issue is he scored a touchdown in every game, so you're not seeing that score show up on your fantasy. So if you've just been watching your score and not checking the deep stat line or not watching the games, you were blown away by this. But again, he's been really touchdown dependent. As the Bucks beat writer, are you a little nervous that it's maybe he's just not Brady's guy? I mean, obviously, when you get to the red zone, the guy got a touchdown every week until today.
Well, I think it's just they're still figuring out things in the offense. Chris Godwin's been gone, and Bruce Arians has said they want to play their players at what they're best, and Mike's best at stretching the field and going down and being that red zone threat. Well, Brady, at the end of the day, he'll push the ball down the field, but he's not really known for it, right? So he's going to be going to his checkout, his intermediate route guys when it's between the 20s. So it kind of makes sense, but you just think he'd be more involved.
Brady's not a forcer anymore. Like for the last number of years, whoever's open gets the ball. It's not like it was when Jameis is just chucking it to two guys, and if you're not one of those guys, screw it. Tom spreads the ball around.
Yeah, and I think he kind of got game scripted out. They got the pick six, then they had the turnover with great field position by Mike Edwards. And then also Ronald Jones, he's running the rock. Well, he had 3 straight 100-yard rushing games the past 3 games. Yes, and when they're running the rock and you're up on Aaron Rodgers, you got to run the clock as much as you can. So they really didn't have no need to start letting him unleash. It was just such a surprise when you look though at if you were just gonna look at the box score and see 38-10, you didn't watch the game, you didn't see how the run game was working, and all that. You're just thinking, Mike probably got me.
Yeah,
a great
right.
day.
If you see the ticker, about Tampa Bay 38, you're like, good. All my guys are fine. No, sir. No, sir. So my stud wide receiver, I put Will Fuller here, but I thought there was something a little funny. So let me mention Will Fuller. Number 3 receiver, 6 receptions, 123 yards and a touchdown, finished with 24.3 points. But I got to looking at the rest of the top 6 too, and Brandon Cooks is at 6 with 21.8, and Julio's at 2 at 33.7, and every name that's been thrown about in trade targets had a good week. Like everyone who's like you could go get showed out this week. Like they're all just like marketing themselves. So kudos to all those guys whose names have been in the news recently, really putting up some points. And then my dud of the week is Juju. 2 receptions, 6 yards, 2.6 points. The emergence of Chase Claypool has really scared me a little bit to Juju. In redraft leagues, to me, he's now a flex guy, which sucks because I love the kid. But I can't trust him to be my 1 or 2 anymore. Not as long as Chase is there and producing. But in Dynasty, don't sweat it. I don't think Juju's a stealer moving forward. So I think he goes somewhere and secures the bag and a good roll. But redraft, it has been a little scary rolling that Juju dice this year. So, Cody, whenever you're ready, let's go talk about my least favorite position in football, the tight ends.
So yeah, my stud tight end, I had to go to my boy that helped the Colts win this week. Trey Burton finished as number 3 tight end. He's been a pleasant surprise since he came off his injury that started the season. He had 4 receptions for 58 yards, 1 touchdown on 5 targets. He also had 1 rush for 1 yard in a touchdown. He kind of did this wildcat formation with him and JT. He ended up finishing with 21.9 points. And I mean, if he's going to be involved in the offense, he might end up being a streamable tight end throughout the year because Phillip is looking his way and he's making some good catches for the Colts.
And don't forget, he was good before he went to Chicago.
There's that whole thing in Chicago where he left Chicago. He talked about how he felt like they mistreated his injuries during his time with the Bears. So, and then obviously he has history with Frank Reich. And then it's just the facts is, Michael Pittman, he should be back soon, but he's still on IR. Basically, Paris Campbell could potentially return, but he's basically done for the season. So they have to get people involved, and Trey Burton has the athletic ability to kind of kick to the outside if they need him to. And then my dud, man, Mike Gesicki, only 2 targets, 0 points. And here's the thing that kills me. I was watching that game because that game was the only game with the Packers and Bucks. So I was watching that game too. And then, you see all of a sudden, a streaking big white athletic tight end go for, a 40-yard touchdown. And I'm just like, yes, Gesicki just got me a big play. No, it's Adam Shaheen. And he ended up finishing with three receptions for 51 yards. And then, later on in the game, Fitzpatrick dumps off to a white athletic tight end. Oh, Gesicki got me a touchdown. No, it's Durham Smythe. 1 reception for 4 yards and a touchdown a day. How does the Miami Dolphins have 3 white tight ends that all look like each other, and you can't tell like what their number is.
They're like clones of each other. Just
dude, it's ridiculous. I had Mike, and it was in a league. I ended up losing that matchup. He was a dud for me. I didn't even bother looking up where he finished because he was basically probably like number 100 tight end. So
there's only so much time to go through crap players before we got to go live.
Yeah. Yeah, so like he's basically a boomer bust tight end to me at this point.
Full blown boomer bust definition of. So I'll cover mine real quick because again I pretty much hate this position. But stud tight end Gronk, welcome back to football. Number 6 tight end on the week, 5 receptions, 78 yards and a touchdown, 18.8 points. Sort of looked like the Gronk and Brady of old for a little bit out there. Dud tight end Evan Engram, number 27 on the week, 2 receptions, 30 yards. I do want your opinion here, Cody, because the thing about Ingram is it feels like Jason Garrett is trying to force him to be Jason Witten, and that's not what Evan Engram is. So I'm concerned, ROS, rest of season, on what we're getting from Ingram because they're completely using him wrong. Like I said, they're forcing him into a Jason Witten role with little short crap and little hooks and little stuff like that. Just get 4 or 5. That's not Evan Ingram's game. They haven't attempted anything like that, it feels like, in weeks with him. Are you a little nervous about that, Cody? Uh-oh, looks like we might have lost Cody. Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
You're good. Same thing though. Are you a little concerned that they are going to continue misusing Evan Engram, and if so, what do you think for the rest of the season with him? Is he somebody to move on from because of?
Man, I do own him, and that's something I'm really debating. But it's so weird. I agree. Like in the passing game, they're trying to use him like a Jason Witten, but then at the same time, they're like handing him off like tight end arounds because they know how athletic he is. I just feel like I find myself wanting to hold on to him because I feel like at some point he's going to explode.
He's and so you're gonna good to just be misused. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I will say this: if you're tired of it, I totally understand. If you want to package him. Like that's the other thing. I need running backs in that league. I have them in right now because I just lost Miles Sanders. I already lost Nick Chubb, and I also just lost Raheem Mostert in that league. So I'm pretty desperate for running backs. So if you're somebody like me, I'm actually considering like packaging him with maybe another. I have tons of wide receivers, and just seeing if I can go get a running back. So that makes sense at this point. If you can maybe get something off his name value, right. Because his name value isn't going to last that much longer if this continues. But I am still holding out hope. Like I feel like he's got to potentially explode. I think this Thursday night is his last test because the Philly linebacker group is awful. So it sets up nicely for him this Thursday.
Absolutely. Before we get into the waiver claims, we did have a question in the chat. Half point PPR, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. Who do I start? And it looks like we've got 6 names here. So basically it's who are you going to sit out of these names. He's got Zeke, Hunt, Connor, Tyreek, your boy DK, and Kenny Golladay. Of those, which one do you sit this week? Because again, it basically 6 players in 5 spots.
I personally, I feel like I would just have to play those wide receivers. It's PPR. I think I got to pay Tyreek, DK, and Golladay.
Right, especially with Tyreek having a down week this week, it feels like he's going to explode. Like it's just what it happens.
Yeah, and then I would probably play Zeke because I feel like he's got to like. After those 2 fumbles this past week, you think he's going to want to ball out. So I want to do that. And then who do the Browns have this week? Do you know? Well, here's the thing. I think I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt on this because he's still the lead back there. James Conner has been fine, but they are going against the Titans this week.
And Benny Snell. It's hot hand for my man out there, bro.
And the Titans have Jadeveon Clowney and Jeffrey Simmons who are eating lines up right now. And I know Pittsburgh's got a pretty good line, but I don't know if I would trust James Conner. So if I would do it, I would do Zeke and Hunt as the 2 running backs. It doesn't matter what the rest is. And then Tyreek, DK, and Golladay between the 2 wide receivers.
100% agree. Couldn't agree more. Lima, FN in the chat says, start 2. This is PPR. Start 2. Chark, Cup, McKinnon.
Ooh. It would be Chark and Cup. I'm going to talk about it later. I have my concerns about the San Francisco running backs with their matchup this week against the Patriots. So, yeah, I would play Chark had like 14 targets in this past game. When he's in, Gardner's looking his way. So you got that. And then the Rams got the Bears. I think
the Bears.
Yeah, so yeah, they're going to need guys like Cup and them to step up and eat up the middle of that defense.
Absolutely.
So.
It's not going to be Higby or Everett this week. It's going to be it feels a lot like a Cooper Kupp game, even over a Bobby Trees game for me. So I agree, DJ Chark and Cooper Kupp. Little too many question marks. Again, he'll talk about the 49ers backfield here in a little bit, but definitely go with those two names. Let's go ahead then, Cody, and we'll hit up your top 5 waiver claims of the week. And if you guys have any more questions, get them in, and we'll answer them in between segments here.
Yeah, so here are my waiver claims. Again, if you're a first-time listener, I'll go over this for you. They have to be available in more than 50% of leagues, and this is on Yahoo. And I literally pull this right before we go live, so I have as many up-to-date numbers because I understand, waivers either process through the night into the morning. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I do a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, a tight end, and then a flex ad. My quarterback ad, I know people might be scared of this because I would be worried if I did it. But just like I talked about earlier, there's a good chunk of quarterbacks that are over that 50% threshold, and I found this name as the only viable option I would look to at this point. Outside maybe a Tua ad, if you can afford to have him on your bench, is Daniel Jones. He's available in 68% of the leagues. He had 112 passing yards, a touchdown. Of course, he has his turnover that you don't like to see. But here's the thing I like. He had 7 rushes for 74 yards. And if you saw that run, Rob, I don't know if you did, but he took off for that 40-yard run. The kid's fast. He's mobile. He can be elusive. If anybody listens to Football Happy Hour, I am going crazy. I might have been smoking the good stuff last night when I picked the Giants to win the NFC East, but I'm still holding firm on that. I really think Daniel Jones has a potential to have a good stretch of games going forward.
He does.
They got the Eagles this week. I'd feel comfortable streaming him this week. He's just a name to watch. Like I said, I have a feeling, just for everybody to know, going forward, my waiver quarterback ad of the week, I have a feeling these are just going to be speculative ads. I don't know if we're going to find a guy you can depend on, but I think he's the reason why I put him too this week is not only I felt like he was the most talented one available, I think he has a good matchup against the Eagles this week. And then let me do the running back ad of the week. J.D. McKissick for the football team. He's available in 93% of the leagues. Now, Antonio Gibson, he got the start, but these guys are splitting the backfield. Now, I would rather have an Antonio Gibson for the long term, but until J.D. McKissick's touches go down, he's kind of a flex option at this point in some leagues, especially deeper leagues. This past week, he had 8 rushes for 41 yards. He had 6 receptions for 43 yards on 6 targets. He's not an exciting name. I think he's worth at least your bench ad, and then if you're dealing with bye weeks, I think you could play him in your flex as long as you don't come out of a game where he had very minimal touches in it. Then my wide receiver ad of the week is Christian Kirk. He was available in 66% of the leagues. This past week, he had it's about as efficient you can do on the minimal targets he has. Now that's a concern for me. But he had 2 receptions for 86 yards on 2 touchdowns on 3 targets. The reason why I think he's worth an ad right now, especially if he's available in your league, is I don't know if anybody watched the game, but there was a couple of times where Andy Isabella kind of pulled off on routes, and him and Kyler weren't connecting. And then you see Christian Kirk connect on that 60-70-yard touchdown bomb touchdown. And so I think he's going to start getting more of Kyler's trust. We're not really seeing Larry involved too much. Teams will probably start double teaming DeAndre Hopkins as much as they can. And I think if there's going to be anybody to own outside DeAndre Hopkins, I think it's going to be Christian Kirk. 3 targets, but with that type of offense that can be explosive, I think he's worth an ad. He's definitely worth an ad on your bench. He should definitely be on your bench. And then depending on the matchup, I think he can be a weekly play. My tight end ad of the week, this is kind of a speculation ad, plus he's getting plenty of targets from Deshaun Watson right now. It's Darren Fells. He's available in 98% of the leagues. This past week, he had 6 receptions for 85 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets. Tight end position is kind of rough this year. I know he's finished as like a top, I think, 10 or 12 tight end over the last 2 weeks. Deshaun Watson is looking his way. Rob talked about it earlier with those potential trades. There's rumors floating that the Texans wide receivers are basically all on the trade market right now. The trade deadline's coming in 3 weeks. If 1 or 2 of those guys get moved, Darren Fells is still there. He might end up becoming a tight end 2 with a tight end 1 upside at some point this year, especially if he continues to get those 7 targets every game. And then my flex ad of the week, we talked about him, Chase Claypool. He's available in 60% of the leagues. He had 4 receptions, 74 yards on 4 targets. He also had 2 rushes for 7 yards and a touchdown. He's getting involved in the passing game. He's involved in the rushing attack. And he just continues to impress every week where the offensive coordinators, you just can't keep him off the field. I know, but I will say, it is going to be kind of matchup dependent. And then obviously, Deontay Johnson probably returns this week. So there is that worry that these guys will take away their targets, but there's no reason why he shouldn't be on somebody's roster.
Yeah, 60% availability tells me 60% of leagues are being played wrong. That's insane. I wish Claypool was available in any league I played in. Come on. I'm going to burn through trade targets real quick. Nothing too killer. Go get CEH. That guy's freaking out because Le'Veon Bell's coming in. So, again, I think we're fine with CEH. I think they both can eat in an Andy Reid offense. So, I would go get him pennies on the dollar, especially if I'm in a dynasty league and maybe that guy doesn't know what he's doing. Number 2 here, DJ Chark, like Cody said, he had about 1 billion targets this week, so starting to come around there. I think he's one of the few guys who has wide receiver 1 written all over him that doesn't have the star power attached to it, so you might be able to pilfer him from a team with that in mind. Jonathan Taylor, this will be like the last week you can get him, if you can get him at all, so go try one more time. Kareem Hunt, like I said, has been up and down, but I think especially if Baker misses a significant amount of time, Kareem's numbers go up. David Montgomery is the guy I want to talk about here. I actually have some stats for him. The rest of them are gut feeling for me, which is what I tend to go by, use a little bit of analytics. But it says in the 3 games following Tariq Cohen's season-ending knee injury, Montgomery's has seen snap shares of 86.2, 78.6, and 81%. He simply has no competition in the backfield, and he's also one of the best fantasy playoff schedule, as Chicago will be facing the likes of Detroit, Houston, Minnesota, and Jacksonville, who all rank 23rd or worse in running back rushing yards allowed. So if you are doing well, David Montgomery is a name to target. And I'm going to give you an extra one this week. I'm going to hit you with number 6. And Cody said earlier the word speculative. This is very speculative. But I would like to get my hands around Zach Ertz in the hopes that he is traded and does go especially to Buffalo. I think we talked about it last night, but if Ertz goes to Buffalo, bro, his numbers are going to explode, and he'll be the Zach Ertz of old. So again, that would be a name I would try and get on, but that's only if you can afford the bench space. I don't think he's like a playable tight end every week at this point in Philly. So, all right, Cody, let's move into the start sits, guys. You feel comfortable and less comfortable with, and whenever you're ready, hit us with them QBs.
All right, so my start of the week, streaming quarterback has been very viable except for last week, so I hope you guys did listen to me on sitting him, but I think you can run him back this week. Teddy Bridgewater against the Saints. New Orleans is the 4th worst defense against quarterbacks in fantasy football this year. They allowed 23.3 points per game. Teddy's going back to his former team, so there's a revenge factor. I believe Christian McCaffrey is expected to miss at least 1 more week. So I think that's going to be more of the passing offense that we've seen him depend on between like a DJ Moore and a Robbie Anderson. So if you need a streaming quarterback, I think Teddy Bridgewater is worth it this week. Then my sit of the week, is your boy with the Rams, Jared Goff against the Bears. Chicago's defense is really good against the pass this year, and especially against quarterbacks. And just not only in fantasy football, but in general. As far as fantasy football, they're only allowing 11.7 points per game to the quarterback position. And then, I think I saw some crazy stat for the Bears where they're like only allowing like 57 or 58% completion percentage to all quarterbacks throughout the year. So I don't think Jared Goff is a great streaming option for anybody this week.
Yeah, I don't either. As a Rams fan, not looking forward to that matchup at all. I'm going to be quick here again. Quarterback Matthew Stafford for me is the start versus the Falcons because the Falcons are El Terrible. They're giving up 29.1 points per game. Every signal caller to play a full game against them has scored at least 20 fantasy points. So chalk up 20 of them for Matt Staff. That's how it's going down this week. My sit of the week is Drew Brees. Carolina is the fourth best in the position at only 13.9 points per game, and 2020 Drew Brees is cheeks. So continue to sit Drew Brees and go ahead and give that start to Matt Stafford this week. And Cody, hit us with the running backs.
So here's my start running back of the week, and it's going to be David Johnson against the Packers. The Packers are the worst defense against running backs right now in fantasy. They're allowing 28 points per game. We just saw Ronald Jones go all over them. I didn't even realize, I didn't even think about it, but I guess how Mike Pettin, their defense coordinator, kind of schemes his defense is they basically invite runs against the defense. They want, I don't know, whatever reason. I guess that's why you saw like Raheem Mostert go off against them in the playoffs last year. So I like this as a good David Johnson week. Like David Johnson, he's been all right this year. He's getting the volume of touches which you want to see. But if there was ever going to be a peak ceiling game from David Johnson, it seems like it would be this one against the Packers. So if you want to get your good David Johnson week out, I'd play him this week. And then my sit, like we were talking about when we had the question about when the Lima asked if they should play McKinnon. I don't think it's a good matchup to play this week. Any San Francisco running back, whoever's active, whether it's Jeff Wilson, Hasty, or even if Tevin Coleman's going to get activated off the IR. The New England is the fifth best defense against the running back position this year for fantasy. They're allowing 14.8 points per game. And then Kyle Shanahan is just like Bill Belichick in my mind, too, with the running back position. Outside Mostert, when Mostert's been playing this year, he has been getting the touches, but he just can't stay healthy. But when they don't have a lead dog like that, they know what they're going to do is they're going to use all their guys. So I would just, at least this week, I would avoid the San Francisco running back group.
I, too, would avoid the San Francisco running back group. My start of the week is going to be Ronald Jones. Rojo, the Raiders are the third worst at the position, giving up 26.6 points per game. And as Cody said earlier, he's already rattled off 300-yard games in a row. I think we could see him with his fourth here at worst. I think he gets a touchdown at the very least. So I'm rolling Rojo this week. I'm sitting Le'Veon Bell. Look, I know you guys are all excited. If you've owned him the whole time, it feels like he's been freed from Adam Gase. And yes, the numbers will be there. I'm probably not going week one with him. Like, again, and if you have to, you have to. But let's be honest, I don't think he gets more than, 5-6 carries, some warm-up ball. That's really all this feels like to me. And Denver, actually, I had no clue, says they're the best at the running back, to their only 12.1 points per game. Was not expecting that. So, again, not a lot of fruit to eat on, and I just don't see Le'Veon Bell getting that many cracks at the apple. So, whenever you're ready, Cody, let's do these wide receivers.
My wide receiver start this week is the guy I told you to add on the waiver wire. It's Christian Kirk against the Seahawks. Seahawks heading into this matchup right now are the worst defense against the wide receivers. They allow a 38.4 points per game. So obviously I don't name DeAndre Hopkins because he's a must start. So yeah, right. I'm going to Christian Kirk. I think he's a good play this week, and I think he could offer you that type of point. I don't know if he's going to get you, 2 touchdowns, but I could think he can get that same points between the yardage and a touchdown in this matchup. This also has making for a great shootout between Kyler and Russ. So I would like to have Christian Kirk in my lineup this week. My sit, now this is me and Rob have done this multiple times throughout the year. We'll throw out some names that we, as a sit, more than likely because of buys, because of the name, you're not going to sit this guy. So this is more of a caution play. Allen Robinson against the Rams. First of all, the Rams are the best defense right now against wide receivers. They're only allowing 16.3 points per game. And then I'm going to talk about it later in my streamable defenses, but I really don't like this. I don't think the Bears offense matches up well against this Rams defense. And I think you're going to see Jalen Ramsey shadow Robinson all day. And he definitely has the ability to shut them down. They're former teammates, too, from Jacksonville. So I'm sure Ramsey wants to do that. Ramsey maybe knows how to get inside his head like he likes to do with wide receivers. So I understand you're probably going to have to play him, but I'll be very cautious. I just wouldn't have high expectations for him to put a good week together.
Right, and that's where if you have an option on a boom guy or a floor guy, you go boom guy if you're going to have to play Robinson, right? So let's talk a little bit about my start and sit wide receiver. Chase Claypool, start of the week for me. Tennessee's the sixth worst at 28.7 points per game. It really has nothing to do with that for me, though. As I said last week, watching Chase and his relationship with Ben feels a lot like Antonio Brown. Ben is going to force the ball to Chase. Chase will have a buttload of opportunities, and it's like, imagine if Antonio Brown was taller. That's what he's got with Chase Claypool right now, at least relationship-wise. So I'm rolling Claypool out. I would venture to say he's an every week start for me at this point. Chase Claypool is no longer an option. Why is he available in 60% of leagues? If you hear this and he's available in your league and you don't pick him up, flat out, you're stupid. Let's move to my sit of the week, which is going to be Debo Samuel versus the Patriots. The Pats are middle of the road at 12. They do give up 24.5 points per game to the position. However, a deep dive into that stat says their defense hasn't allowed a single receiver to score even 12 fantasy points in a game on out wide rights. So that's whoever Stephon Gilmore's touching isn't getting the ball. I think that's Debo. I'm a little nervous still that it's all good for him health-wise. Everyone knows if you've ever seen anything Blitzalytics with this fat face on it, I absolutely can't stand Jimmy Garoppolo. So I don't feel it right now with Debo Samuel versus that Patriots defense. I think Bill wants to go in there and whip his ass, maybe get San Francisco to move on to another quarterback, and then go get Jimmy G. It feels like Bill's just got a story to write here. So no Debo Samuel for me versus the Pats. And whenever you're ready, Cody, start us off in the tight end position.
Yeah, so my start this week, it's going to be TJ Hawkinson against the Falcons. Atlanta's the second worst defense against tight ends this year. They're allowing 14.3 points per game. He just got a touchdown this last game, so he's getting more and more involved with their passing attack. So I like TJ Hawkinson starting from the tight end position. My sit of the week, though, it's going to be Hayden Hurst against the Lions. This actually surprised me. I don't know who they got covering tight ends out there, but Detroit is the third best against the tight ends. They only allow 4.3 points per game. So I think this is definitely one of those low floor Hayden Hurst games. So I would avoid playing him if possible this week.
Man, that says something, right? The second worst team's only allowing 14.3 points. This position is trash. This is why I tell you guys I hate this position. There's like two guys worth of shit, and then everybody else just struggles to get 6 points every week. So I guess I'll give you mine because, I have to. But start of the week is going to be Hunter Henry versus Jacksonville. They're the sixth worst at the position at 11.2 points per game. My thing here is its volume is king, right? And especially at this position. And Herbert's targeting that position 8 times a game. They're coming back after the bye. Lost a close one. The game really went off the fingertips of Hunter Henry there in OT. So I think he has a big game. My sit game is Tyler Higby versus the Bears. I actually, the only guys I'm really comfortable playing against the Bears is, I guess one guy is Cooper Kupp, and I would go Robert Woods, but other than that, I don't want any part. This Bears defense is legit. 7.8 point per game to the position, but only 2 tight ends have hit double figures against the Bears. And it feels like in order for Higby to get you anything, he's touchdown dependent. He's either no touchdowns and scores a total of 4 points for you, or he'll catch 2 touchdowns and knock you out 21 for that week. I don't think this is a 2-touchdown, 21-point game week from Tyler Higby, not against this Bears defense. So if you have the option, start Hunter Henry, sit Tyler Higby. And then now, Cody, the most important part, the reason we put it at the end here is because the only reason anybody watches the show is for your top 5 streamable defenses. So whenever you're ready, hit them with that gold.
Yeah, so my number 1 is the Bills against the Jets. Now, there's a good possibility people are very upset with how the Bills performed over the last 2 weeks, so they may have dropped them out of anger, but they shouldn't have. If they're out there, go grab them. They got a great matchup. Obviously, it's low-hanging fruit at this point. If you want to plan ahead when you stream your defenses, if you see like the defense you're picking up is facing the Jets the following week, they're kind of getting more priority than other streaming defenses. So kind of play that Jets schedule going forward. And then my second streamable defense this week is the Chargers against the Jaguars. Chargers are coming off a bye week. They should be hopefully healthy. They should hopefully be getting Melvin Ingram back this week, coming off the IR. Joey Bosa should be hopefully healthy. And the Jaguars offense has just been hit and miss all year. Gardner Minshew is coming kind of back down to earth. I watched that game last night. He's kind of like just letting his deep balls like just float in the air, which is leading to his turnovers. He already had a problem kind of putting the ball on the ground as far as fumbling, and that happened this past week. So I think there's opportunities for sacks here, so for some potential turnovers. I like the Chargers as a streamable defense this week. And then my third defense is the Chiefs versus the Broncos. That Chiefs defense is weird to read. We saw like Derek Carr go completely off against them, but then we see them be a problem for quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen this season. And then so I think they're going to be a problem for Drew Lock on Sunday. As we saw against the Patriots, Drew Lock is not afraid to make a throw. He will literally toss it and try to squeeze in anything. So that can lead to turnovers. Obviously, their line is not that great. And then on top of that, it sounds like they're going to be missing Dalton Reisner, who is probably their best interior lineman right now. So that's going to allow Chris Jones to eat up the interior of the defense. So I see a lot of sack and turnover potential. So I like the Chiefs as a streamable defense this week. And then number 4, Rob, I think your Rams against the Bears is a good defense to stream. The Bears really don't score many points, so that's a good thing right there. And like I talked about earlier with the Allen Robinson thing, I don't think this Bears offense matches up well against the Rams defense. The Bears, they lost James Daniels a couple weeks ago, their interior guard. So I think Aaron Donald, obviously, it doesn't matter if you double team him, he's going to have a good day. But if you're going to double team him and you got the backup in, I think he's going to get up in the middle. That lets other guys eat. And then, like
Plus
I said,
that game's going to be like 16-13.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a low-scoring day. I think they have a sack potential. Like I said, I think Jalen Ramsey can stick on Allen Robinson, which will force guys like Miller, Mooney, Jimmy Graham, Cole Kmet, all those other guys to win, which isn't much to write home for right now based on their inconsistent performances. So I think the Rams could be a high floor defense just because of the lack of scoring, and then you could get some sacks and maybe a Nick Foles like pick or something like that. My number 5 defense is the Washington football team against the Cowboys. Now, this one's I could have probably ranked this one at number 3, but I put it at 5 because I'm like, yeah, of course, the 1 week you can maybe stream them. Like the Cowboys' offensive weapons are going to go off against them, but I really don't see that happening. We just saw what happened against the Cardinals though on Monday night. Cardinals lost Chandler Jones, their best pass rusher, and they were just getting after Andy Dalton all night. And then you're going against the Washington football team, who has arguably one of the better, if not the best, defensive front 4 right now in the NFL.
Nasty.
And then you got Chase Young, right? And well, guess what? The Cowboys are out with Tyron Smith for the year. They turned to a undrafted rookie left tackle. Well, guess what? That guy's hurt and he's out for the next week or two. So now they're down to their 3rd string left tackle to protect Andy Dalton. I think they're going to get after him all day. That could potentially lead to turnovers. That secondary is solid enough. So I think the football team is going to be a good streamable defense against the Cowboys this week, especially, too, that's another name I didn't even mention. If Zach Martin has to miss this week because he left that game with an injury. So if he is out this week, there's going to be I feel like there's going to be so many sacks by Washington against the Dalton.
Yeah, division game too, man. They that's how it rolls, dude. They're always nastier in the division games. So
yeah, so those are my streamable defenses this week: the Bills against the Jets, Chargers against the Jaguars, Chiefs against the Broncos, Rams against the Bears, and then the football team against the Cowboys.
I love it, man. I've pretty much listened to your advice every week and went with streaming defense. So that'll do it for the show. Here's what I'll do. I will tell you guys, if you're listening live on YouTube and you have any fantasy football questions, get them in the chat. If you get them in before I say my goodbyes, we'll answer them. If not, we'll catch you on the flip. So, Cody, whenever you're ready, man, plug what you need to plug. Say your goodbyes.
Yep. I'll do our weekly YouTube commercials. But as always, guys, the Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia. Man, this thing is great just to have on game day. You can learn about the opposing team. It's the top 22 players from the last three top 22 players on all 32 teams from the last three draft classes that had 12 regular season starts or less. It's a great way so you can know every single player that's playing on Sunday, know about these future stars in the league. If you're playing fantasy football and injuries happen, you don't know who the backup is, you can learn about like a Dearness Johnson, somebody like that from the Browns. So a lot of unknown guys, a lot of well-known guys. It's a great piece of work. It's only $35. Go to blitzalytics.com/shop to order you one. And then also you get the PDF for only $15 or any individual team PDFs. Just see how this thing works. I'm telling you, open that thing up, read the Giants section, read the Eagles section, watch the Thursday night game. You're going to see all those names flashing on the screen throughout the game. And then other than that, you like this video, guys, you like me and RobRob doing the Voyage every week. We want to grow our YouTube subscribers so we can grow this thing and bring you great content weekly. So please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please make sure you like our YouTube channel. Like this video. And also, tell a friend about us. Word by mouth advertising always works. Me and RobRob know about that. But that's an inside joke between us where we used to work with each other. But yeah, so also if you ever miss an episode, you can always come back to YouTube to watch the video. Other than that, you can always go to our Blitzalytics podcast network. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, you name it, and you can get the audio versions of our shows on there. And then other than that, I'll be back on Friday. Cody Talks NFL between that 10 to 11 hour. And then that's it. So Rob, you got any goodbyes?
It looks like Agent Alvaro showed up. So hello, Agent. Got a couple of good fans, man, super fans in the chat. Yeah. No, man. Of course, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, thanks for those who watched last night's football happy hour, man. That was fun. We had a bunch of people in the chat, and I hope to have that moving forward on all the shows. So don't be afraid to be active. That's why we go live now, so that we can interact with you guys. Again, I'm just like Cody. DMs are open. If you have a question and you think it's stupid and you don't want to ask it publicly, go ahead and hit our DMs. We'll answer that for you, too. Don't worry about it. So you can see down there my name, Robert Robinson. You can follow me at RobRob Graphics. You can follow him at Cody Talks NFL. Again, this has been Fantasy Voyage presented by Blitzalytics.com, and we look forward to talking to you next week. Hopefully you go out there and get that dub.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your captain speaking. You are now aboard the Fantasy Voyage Express. Time to pack your bags and let us take you on a journey to victory.
Come on, y'all. car, let's take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it, kick it, kick it. Yeah, Blitzalytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. And if you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, who ride? If you want to get the dub, you gotta tune in live.
You are now watching Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here are your hosts,